Have you ever wondered how some agencies or consultancies seem to grow consistently quarter after quarter, year after year, while others seem to be stuck in the same place for an extended period of time? Look, in my experience, this usually comes down to three things. The first is that they're not spending any time working on the business, okay? The second one is that they waste time on the wrong thing. So they're putting lots of time and energy working on their business, but it's just the wrong thing that they need to be fixing right now. And the third thing is that they're working on too many things at the same time. I see it all the time, and I'm going to share an example with you in a second. In today's video, I'm going to walk through a simple but powerful agency growth assessment that I use with my clients that I work with. It's a 3-minute agency health check, and it's designed to help you get focused on the next right thing. Okay, so you're going to be able to quickly score your business across 7 essential areas and help uncover the real bottleneck that's holding your growth back. All right, you're going to learn how to assess your agency's health in under 3 minutes. I'm going to, with a case study or a story, I'm going to share with you and demonstrate why fixing the wrong problem keeps you stuck. And I'm also going to share 2 really powerful reflective questions that's going to help you to focus on what is that next right thing. And based on all of that, you're then going to be able to prioritize your time and simplify your path to growth. Hi, I'm Joel Norton. I'm an ex-agency CEO of an 8-figure MarTech agency. And today I help ambitious agency owners to build a more profitable and purposeful business where they win better clients, make more money, and free their time to do what they love. Now, before I share with you the 3-minute agency health check, I just want to share a quick story with you about an agency I'm working with at the moment. And in the last couple of days, they just share with me their quarterly big rocks. Now, at face value, at a high level, there were 3 strategic initiatives that they wanted to focus on for the next quarter. The first one was really around an operations person internally. The second one was around recruiting. So they're having high growth, and so they want to focus on talent acquisition. And the third one was around growing existing clients, big opportunity to grow existing clients and continue to grow both revenue and profit. However, when I looked at all the bullet points and everything else that sat underneath that, there was much more than 3 things. It also included onboarding, it included marketing, brand and content. There were also things around systems. There was, when I added them up, there was probably like 8 or 9 or 10 things. There's enough to keep them busy for a full year, maybe longer, let alone just doing it in 3 months. And I know I've been guilty of this before. And what I've found is you need to, whilst there's usually things that you need to fix across the business, you need to be really laser focused, because when we try and do too many things at once, you end up failing generally at all of them. And so what we need to do is we need a way to be able to work out what's the most important thing to do right now. What's the next right thing? And that's what this 3-minute agency health check is all about, to really try and give you a bit more clarity around what's the big opportunity or the biggest issue that we need to solve right now that's going to help move us forward. And ideally what we want to do is we want to work on one thing every quarter. And so this is a process I do with the clients that I work with, the agency that I work with, once a quarter. And so based on the results from this, we then look at developing a 90-day plan where we break that down further into 2 6-week cycles. And so we have 2 6-week cycles where we're addressing that one project to deliver improvement, okay? At the end of that 90 days, we do the assessment again. Maybe that we continue to work on the same problem and next iteration of that, or we may pivot and we'll choose to work on something else, okay? But that's just a little bit of context for you. All right, so let's change screens. And I'm going to show this to you on the iPad. All right. So here's the 3-minute agency health check. Now, this is a visual tool here on the iPad, which I'm going to walk through, okay? I've got a more detailed one that I work with my existing clients with, where I've actually got specific definitions for each of these cells, but I'll touch on that in a second. Let's just look down the left-hand side. So first of all, so across the top, we're going to have, there's 7 key areas, which I'm going to touch on. But we're going to rank each of those 7 areas either based on it being a superpower, so scoring a 4, whether it's a key strength, whether it's a weakness, or whether it's a problem, okay? Now, the 7 areas are, firstly, lead generation. So, for example, a superpower for lead generation is we've got a multi-channel lead generation machine which delivers a consistent flow of leads every month, every week and every month that are a perfect fit for our sales team. Okay? Whereas a problem at the other end of the scale might be that we rely 100% on word of mouth referrals and we don't have any other channels. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go descriptions for strength and weakness. I'm just trying to give you a quick example. So that's the first one, lead generation. The next one is lead nurture. So, for example, a superpower for that would be that we've got a database of prospects that we communicate with marketing communications on a regular basis, with value-add content and questions to get them to raise their hands to start sales conversations, as well as a process for the sales team to keep in touch with them on a regular basis, for example. Okay. At the bottom, a problem might be that we have no keep in touch. The salespeople, or the founder, calls people every so often when I've got time, and we have no marketing at all. Okay, so you get the idea. The next one along is then around sales conversion. Okay, so sales conversion, the superpower might be that we've got a clearly defined sales process where we firstly qualify prospects, and we're then able to identify what they value most, which helps us to increase customer conversion and average customer value. Okay. Whereas at the bottom, if it's a problem, it might be something like we have no defined sales process. When somebody comes in, I jump on the phone and get straight onto them. I end up wasting a lot of time on proposals and poor fit prospects. We've got a really low conversion rate and low value clients. Next one is retention and upsell. So superpower would be we've got really high customer retention and we're continually upgrading our clients so that we're increasing average customer value each quarter or every year or whatever it might be. Okay. Problem down the bottom is we've got high churn. We've got we're losing X% of our customers every couple of months, and so we win 2 customers, we lose 1, and so it's backwards and forwards, for example. The next one along is around customer success. So how good are we at delivering the results that we've promised to our customers? Okay. I won't go through that. We've then got team and culture as the next one. And the last one is profit. So I'll just talk about this briefly. So I do have some numbers on here. So for instance, generally speaking for profit, all right, and you'll notice it's profit, not revenue, okay? But generally speaking, superpower is 25% plus. A strength would be somewhere around 20 to 25%. A weakness would be 11 to 19%. And a problem is less than 10%. Now, I know some businesses where they might have some months where it's up at 20, 25, but then they have some really low months and it drags it down. And so they're sitting at around 10%. So what is it overall? Okay. So the idea is that we go through and we score. And so each of these 7 areas, I should just summarize into how do we attract? How do we attract better quality clients that we love? I'll do that in a different color. The next one is how do we convert those into high-paying clients? Then how do we deliver that? And the last one is around lead. How do we lead the team and the business so we're continually growing? Okay. So as I said, for the existing customers I've worked with, I've actually got descriptions for each of these different cells. So it's a little bit more objective around what the number is. As far as this being a visual thing, it's good enough just to get going and you can just score it yourself. Okay. Now, I'm going to quickly share with you a client that's just done this recently. I'm going to share their scores with you, and then I'm going to share my scores of how I scored them, just to really demonstrate the importance of having an external perspective. And part of that is going to have these 2 reflection questions that I mentioned a second ago. But first, let's just go through. I'm going to share with you. We'll do theirs in blue. Okay. So for lead generation, they scored 3. For lead nurture, they scored it at 2. For sales conversion, they said 2.5. Normally I don't allow 0.5s, but I'll do it in this case, 2.5. Retention and upsell, they also said 2.5. Customer service or customer success, they said 3. Team and culture, they said 3. And then profit, up until a week ago, was probably 1.5. But it is climbing based on a conversation I had with them earlier today, which is awesome. So that's how they scored it. And so based on that, we start to have a conversation around, okay, well, what's the biggest bottleneck for us to be able to move forward? What's the thing that we need to work on that's going to help us to continue to grow profitably? Or what's the biggest opportunity? And this is where I overlaid these 2 reflection questions, okay? Now, the first one is actually from a variation on something from Alex Hormozi. And he talks about supply and demand. And so the question is, if you doubled your lead flow tomorrow, would you double your business or would you create a nightmare? So on the positive side, if you doubled your business, so revenue doubled, ultimately that means you're demand constrained. It means you need to be doing much more marketing. If you've got capacity in the business, you need to be doing much more marketing and sales to grow your business, okay? More often than not, though, my experience in dealing with agency owners and consultancies is that this would actually happen. It would actually be a nightmare because they're supply constrained. They think they've got a marketing and sales problem, but actually they've got an operational issue, because if they doubled their business, it would create a massive nightmare in a whole bunch of different areas, okay? So that's the first question that I like, because thinking about this in the context to this, working with this client, saying, if you doubled your lead flow, would it double the size of your business or create a nightmare? I know it would create a nightmare. And I'm going to come back to that in a second, okay, and how I score this. The next question, the second question is, this one came from the book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. And the question is, what is the one thing that, if executed, would make all other problems easier or even irrelevant? What is the one thing that, if executed, would make all other problems easier or even irrelevant? And this is really important when we talk about working on the wrong thing, because if your business isn't continuing to grow every month or every quarter consistently, then it highlights that you're not working on the right thing, okay? And that's one of the big things I see people working, as I said, people working on too many things, or they're working on the wrong thing. They think they're working on the right thing. They do all the work and it's implemented and launched, and then go, there's no change. It's exactly the same as it was before, okay? And so I love this question, because generally speaking, when we can, and I'm going to show this to you with this live example. So let's jump back in here, and we'll talk about this. All right. So when I overlay those 2 questions, those reflection questions, to this example with this client, this is how I would score it, and I'm going to use orange. Okay. So I would score all of these really in a weakness. So lead generation, I would actually score a 2. I would agree with lead nurture. I would say a sales conversion is a 2. I would say retention and upsell is a 2. Customer success is 2. And team and culture, I think that's fine at 3. And profit is fine. So for most of those, I have a different score. And the reason is because thinking about this and also having external perspective to the client around their business. But one of the other pieces I've been working with them on is around refining their target audience. Now, where they see their lead generation, as an example, as a strength at the moment, it is pretty good. When they run their activity, they're able to schedule out a whole bunch they're able to book their calendar basically with sales calls for the next month and the month after. So that from that point of view, awesome. But the way that works at the moment is that they're actually getting wrong fit clients. Their targeting is going to anybody and everybody. And so what we've been working on is actually saying, let's narrow our focus and be really specialized and niche around who we're going after. What do our best customers look like? Let's get more of them. And so when I overlay that lens, Because what would happen if we just doubled the lead flow and got more of those? I can tell you what's going to happen. Sales conversion will probably go down, and this retention and upsell would drop massively. It would be probably sitting at around 1, because that's the problem we've just been fixing, is that realizing that we've got a whole bunch of clients that aren't a good fit, they don't have high enough spend, they're never going to, they've never got the potential because they're the wrong fit. And so if we're attracting and closing the wrong clients, guess what? Our retention and upsell is going to be down. And that's a common one I see all the time. Agencies and consultancies working on onboarding or trying to improve their service because they've got really high really high customer churn. Now, in some instances, yes, you need to improve your customer service or your customer delivery, but more often than not, it comes back to you're attracting the wrong clients. If you're attracting the wrong clients, it's going to have this trickle effect through the rest of the business. Now, in this example, if they've got the wrong clients, that's also going to mean that customer success is a problem. They're running around all over the place trying to do more for these clients that they can't get results for because they're just the wrong fit. That's going to bring down team culture. And guess what it's going to do on profit? It's going to squeeze profit down. Okay. So when we look at this is where the second question comes into play. What's the one thing that, if executed, would make all other problems easier or even irrelevant? And for me, my focus for this client for the next month is 100% around lead generation. We need to be looking at alternative lead generation methods where we can be more accurately target our perfect future customers. Now, it means the volume is going to be less than what they're currently doing. It means changing some of the tactics and stuff. But doing that is a strategic change, and it will have a much bigger impact on sales conversion. It's also going to mean that retention and upsell increases massively. And that means that they're not chasing their tail all the time. If they've got a smaller number of customers, like a typical type of customer they're working on, it means they've got less moving parts and variables as far as delivery. So customer success all of a sudden also starts to improve. That improves team culture and team and culture. And guess what? It's also going to improve profit. Okay. So this is just a quick way to be able to score your business in these 7 areas. But as I said, use those 2 reflection questions to really give you, once you've done the initial score, use these 2 questions to understand what is the real problem. Because in this example here, solving the lead generation problem will actually mean that some of the other problems over here, some of these problems will become irrelevant or less important in this example. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. It's a really quick and easy way to really get a sense of where you're at and help you give you some focus. And importantly, as I say, get clear on what's the next right thing, okay? And just make sure that you're working on one thing a quarter rather than trying to do 10 things a quarter, because when you do that, you're not going to get anything. You'll be 3 months later and no better off, okay? Hope that helps. Here's your next win, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.